itself against Los Ratones, you can't really ask for a better one. So definitely an uphill battle for Bulldogs, but we've already seen one game today that you could describe as an upset. Who's to say it's not going to happen again?
That's a statement. If I may, I don't know if you agree with me. I love Los Ratones, every single one of them. But when I saw them play competitively, and when I get to see all the VODs they have on scrims, when you look into the way Reckless is playing, it's phenomenal. If not probably the best player right now in the league, at least in my opinion. I'm not saying it's a statement, but also he's facing Kasing. So if there's a hope, I somehow believe the head-to-head might be between two supports, which is ridiculous to make as a statement. And where's the Scar in the van? I know Bulldogs are going to take care of that. Wukong as well, because Reckless loves that one. Not Reckless. Kato loves to pick the Wukong for the team. Belgium loves to play him. If he gets to play with the Nidalee, keep that in mind as well. As we jump into Champion Select, I'm fired for this one. Let's go.
Yes, always hype when the rats are on the rift. We got some standard bans coming through right here, but some targets as well. Draven and Viego is very meta, but Velia is quality on that too. It's something that really needs to be said about Los Ratones. Like, we like to build up specific things to watch, but all across the board, every single one of the Ratones can carry, right? Like, and hard carry as well, right? Not just do well, but hard carry. So wouldn't be surprised to see Bulldog actually opting into triple jungle. Okay, I was going to say they might ban the Skarner themselves, but no. So a lot of jungle bans coming through here already, a lot of bot side bans as well. So pinched in those two roles could open up some favorable picks here for the carries in the solo lanes.
Final ban. What do you bring to the table, Bulldogs? Because there's a lot of attention towards the jungle. 2 AD carries to take away some power from Epsofang. There you go. Vi is the last one. So a lot of attention towards the champion pool in the jungle. But Belgium can still go for the other picks. The Nidalee, I swear, it's something to behold. And Baals can play other things. We are aware that there's an item that has been disabled. And Baals was saying today, earlier on the stream, saying, well, I have to play Cyan AD. Oh, no. So I don't know. It's a possibility. Ooh, Crowny completely carried this one on the first week.
Yeah. Yes,
it's a flex as well, right? It's both bot and mid. It's very popular in both roles. So yeah, very powerful. And we, like you say, we saw Crowny on it, but Nemesis absolutely be able to pilot this.
Yeah, I'm glad that we are sort of looking at the mid lane as well, because I think that even though we only saw one game from Nemesis last week, it was one of the most disgusting mid lane performances that I've seen in the NLC. But then I look at Cayman, and whilst Bulldogs did lose earlier in the day, and whilst his scoreline wasn't particularly impressive, he put in a shift against Norway in a matchup that he was countered in. So I think there's the opportunity for him to really show up and do something impressive in this game. The Varus expected, it's just sort of the default ADC at the moment, and I'm hoping that we see a little bit more from this Maokai than we saw the first time that Bulldogs pulled it out today, because it really didn't offer all that much.
If I see Leandries, I swear. Another thing,
the Leandries is fine. The Leandries is fine. He just needs other stuff around him.
For the other people that are not aware, this Galio right now on these hands are on 35 KDA. 35! That is ridiculous. That is absurd. And that's a Jarvan as well, one of the most well-designed champions. It has everything. And it doesn't need those numbers that we now have to live with. But interesting, what do they pick against it?
Okay, before I answer your question, I have a question of my own. Against Jarvan Galio, how does Varus play the game?
Versus Baus?
Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, alright, so we're getting the best locked in here for Mietic. This is interesting because I feel like Mietic, had some priority in the draft earlier on in the day with that Rumble first pick on blue side, but wasn't able to really get anything out of it. And obviously Ambess is not really a weak side jungler either, but you've got a lot of CC from Maokai who'll come through to your lane, and if you can set up Ambessa, who's all about that damage and not so much about the CC, especially pre-6, then you can make some good things happen there. So they're actually looking, from what I can see here from Bulldog, to attack Baus in that side lane, right? And it's interesting. His strategy is very hard to play against, because if you're drawing resources towards him, like if you're ganking Baus, then yeah, you're killing him, but the rest of your map will suffer. But if you just let him do what he wants to do, that's also problematic for you, because he's getting so much pressure, specifically with like lanes and stuff like that. So yeah, I think we're attacking topside here. I think that Baus is gonna have a bit of a target on his back here this game.
Yeah.
As always, I mean, is that something new? He always has a target on his back, and he's capable of pulling through. And Bessa, if it goes versus Baus, I don't know if this is gonna end well. And when I'm looking into the champions, you still have the Rakan, for instance, for Reckless. He added the Leona recently to his champion pool, and so far you're taking away those champions that can counter that. I don't know.
I do want to. I feel like there is potential for Ambessa mid. Feels like the sort of role that she could fit into as a champion. But also just a bit more holistically, I'm a lot happier with what Bulldogs have drafted for themselves, because you've actually got sort of like multiple tools. It's not just going to be, yes, the Maokai's the only real tank that you've got at the moment, but you've got other things around him that are going to offer some support. This role being drafted now gives you another engaged option. It does feel like both of these compositions do, though, really want to go forward. Galio Jarvan classic combo, and Corki, he's not about standing a million miles away and doing 50% of your HP with one rocket. He wants to be Valking in and one-shotting people. And I think if Los Ratones draft an engaged support for themselves, that is just further emphasizing the identity of this character.
Yeah, and now we will see whether a Corki is a flex or not. Even now, like, you could put it in either lane. And both these teams, what I'm loving from this draft so far is both of the teams, not just one or the other. There's no like rock paper scissors going on here. No, we are butting heads, jumping in, engaging. Both, and what it's going to come down to is just purely which team has the advantage, who can outhands who can get the good flanks and the good engages. The game plan is very clear from both teams here. And yeah,
that's AP Jax
with Swain as well. So AP Jax top.
100%. That's Baus.
Okay.
That's AP Jax. He doesn't play AD Jax. He doesn't.
Well, I mean, fair enough. Jackson at best is already strong, so yeah, that's it. I think this game is gonna it's gonna be so bloody, it's so scrappy, it's so skirmishy, it's butting heads constantly, and it might just be a hands diff in this game. It's gonna be entertaining regardless.
I will say though, I feel like this Swain is a really good pick into the composition that Los Ratones have drafted, because it is a little bit low damage, I'd say. Galio Jarvan not really providing all that much, but the thing about Swain is he can just sit there and exist in team fights, and if he is allowed to exist, then very good things happen for the teams that's drafted in. I'm a lot more confident about this Bulldogs draft. Do I think they're going to win? That's a different question, but I am expecting a bit of a better show from them this time around.
Let's put the cards on the table. If Los Ratones win this one, they'll be locked in seeds. If Bulldogs wins this one, they'll be able to escape a little bit from that worst seed possible towards playoffs. It's do or die, and it's Jax AP on the top side. I love this timeline, by the way. I think we are blessed at the NLC. Without further ado, let's toss to another blessing, which is Solari and Initialize on the cast. Was that bad? Was that mean?
That was really lovely. The issue here is, I was going to talk about Los Ratones, and they're kind of going for this other dive comp and stuff, and we were going to have all these wonderful conversations about AP Jax, and then Solari saw Swain, and I quote went, "Yes, Swain daddy." And as we head to the riff, I will leave you with that quote from Alicia here, who maybe letting her, personal tastes sway her opinions here in the draft.
Oh my god, why are you exposing me like that?
I mean, you said it!
It wasn't for the broadcast. Oh my brother, I thought we were friends.
No, I'm throwing you out of the bus there. You just...
Yeah, my
look,
career is ruined.
I'm not apologizing. I mean,
I see
yeah,
that.
moving on. Because I think that statement stands by itself quite happily.
No further comments, okay?
Yeah, we're gonna see a little bit of the old Dark Seal start there from Baus, who has gone for the phase rush. It will likely be that AP Jax, as we were saying. Dark Seal start for the Galio as well, so clearly looking for some of those kind of more snowbally options. I think Middlecott kind of hit the nail on the head a little bit, saying, look, the damage from this Los Ratones roster, this draft rather, is a little low if they don't get ahead. They've got a fair amount of burst, but the consistent damage isn't necessarily what it would be from another composition. That Sway might have a serious amount of value there if they don't get ahead of that curve and get that kind of damage in ahead of the time.
And that's where the bot lane comes into play, because I feel like Crowny having Corki as the first pick for him is so massive here, especially if you've been following Los Ratones so far and you saw what they did last week on the first day of NLC, what Crowny did, granting himself the first blood of the split of NLC and granting himself so many kills and being the deadliest member of Los Ratones on this Corki. Now he's getting it, he's pairing it up with the Recon for Reckless, so that is a very strong combo on the bot lane. If I'm expecting the first blood to come out of anywhere on this map, I would love it to be on the bot lane for Los Ratones, because that is really where they can build up from.
I think you've kind of got the right idea there. And again, like, this is not an unusual draft from Los Ratones. They love their dive comps. They love their Galio comps. This kind of thing really fits the playstyle. Reckless on those engaged supports finds a lot of value. The Bulldog's just looking to see whether they can find an angle there on Nemesis, but he's quick enough to back on it. Had to burn the teleport a little earlier there, and Cayman will now be following in his footsteps. She cancels that recall, wants to try and claim this wave as he can before going back to base.
But that now opens the possibility for some action on the bot lane. The thing though is that Los Ratones know where Ludus is. They should be expecting him to potentially appear on the bot lane. They have their own action, a lot of it happening there at the same time, but they also have Velja around to make sure that nothing bad happens to Los Ratones on the bot lane.
Gonna try and look at a potential dive angle here. They've got a lot of members hiding around in the blue side jungle. HP bars are quite high, and they say, that's not what we're here for. Gonna get the wards down, gonna get onto this Gromp instead, and try and make sure that the Maokai has to leave that camp alone. Instead, we'll turn back towards the top side, pick up that top side Skullcrab, but it means that you can't look to play around the bot side, where X-Fang and Kasing have often been the major win condition for the side of Bulldogs when they found power points of their own. Just make sure that the Maokai can't get involved down there as Baus runs out of mana. We're looking to reset nice and early. Again, it is AP Jax, does tend to run through the mana a little faster than other variants sometimes.
I mean, all of the variants in the early levels run through their mana pretty fast, but this one definitely is the top spot.
Bit of an engage onto Nemesis, who flashes away before the Never Move can land in. We'll have to leave the Edgar Allan Poe references for another time as I got Vision of Empire is not quite there. We have to hold our breath a second as Nemesis is fancy enough with the footwork to avoid dying first blood there.
He went away on 3rd HP. If that W from Swain hit, he most likely would have been dead on the spot.
Velia.
Okay, Velia, what are you?
He's going in for a potential 1 versus 2 here. Just throws down the wards and sees that's all gone. Baus is proxy farming because, of course, he is Baus. Is following Bowson's law. Namely, to be as obnoxious and rat-like as possible, which is, you know, appropriate considering the team he's on.
Absolutely. Also, considering that Velja is around him, it is more than appropriate here because Baus knows that nothing except for this turret shot is going to threaten him whatsoever in his top lane, so he can do whatever he wants, and his team is supporting him. It is lovely to watch how Velja is walking around the map in this game because he is at the right places at the right time. He was shadowing the bot lane a little bit earlier, now he's shadowing the top lane to make sure that Baus, nothing happens to Baus and he gets a safe reset. What is going to be his next step? Potentially the void grabs because we have only 40 seconds before they spawn.
And I think it's also then worth pointing out that actually using the pressure in the bot lane, using the pressure in the top side to get in and get value out of the jungle is really good to see, especially because Velia is, in many ways, the least experienced member of the Los Ratones roster. Nemesis, Crowny, Reckless are superstars in their own right. Reckless, in particular, has played so many games, you know, Middlecott joked about it, but he was on that T1 roster as a substitute, right? He's played a sup down there in their academy or the Challengers roster. He's been an AD carry across Europe for years and years and years. Crowny, Nemesis, similarly have got massive amounts of experience. Even Baus has not had to change all that much from the way he streams and the way he plays on stream compared to the pro, because he's still going to play like Baus. He's committing to that playstyle. As Velia, who's having to take that slightly more inexperienced role, that slightly more or less pro-ready position, I guess, and find value, find success at a kind of competitive style of play. And thus far, this game is kind of using the value he's getting from his lanes really well so far. But we are only 6 minutes in. that could all change yet, but so far so good for the less experienced member of the Los Ratones squad.
So far, so good for the Bulldogs, because do you see what's happening on the minimap right now? Do you see what's happening in the speed? Bulldogs are the one taking in the grabs, despite the pride that Los Ratones were having on the top side of the map. And that's all because of one cheeky little, not even that cheeky, but a ward that was standing at the mid lane at like the river from the top side of the mid lane. Los Ratones were trying to see for a potential play on the mid lane, but Bulldogs were able to rotate in so many people to the mid lane. They got the grabbies, and now they are not losing Kevin on the bot lane, which looked very risky, but no, he's fine. He's Swain, he's fine. He has an ultimate, like, what can you do to him under the turret?
That much there. Finds another move, but Reckless didn't quite take tower aggro there, so he's fine enough. And Baus managed to get the reset off as well. Singh was around looking to see where they could interrupt the Jax's back, who is continuing to play very obnoxiously, very deep. I'm slightly surprised that we don't see more Singed play from Baus with this kind of proxy farming, as Cayman might still be in danger here. Reckless will throw down the Gleaming Quill, and that will be Cayman deciding to demonically ascend, gets the Vision of Empire down, but there's 3 members down here! And Crowny picks up first blood. The Swain, this time around, does not have the ability to survive.
Crowny picking up the first blood is never a good sign for the other team, and it's not a good sign for Bulldogs right now either, because, well, Crowny, if you allow him on snowball, especially on a champion like Corki, that is going to be so much damage. Exactly what the Los Ratones need, consistent damage. They also need Baus to stay alive right now, though.
Do a little bit. Baus gonna be in that 1v2, and we all know that how rats work. As if it is Baus' picking up all the deaths, they're doing just fine. The public execution is a slightly public fumble instead there. Unfortunate, Miatek gets the read wrong. Perhaps a little harsh with the phrasing, but hey, it made more sense with the name of the ultimate. Baus just keeps farming. He's not backing away, of course he's not. Gonna recall in the same spot.
Yeah.
Might be going to pick this one up. Exifang and Kasiga there. There's no way out this time, Baus. Nice attempt. He gets a fair amount of damage down, but I think it will be the Varus who picks that one up.
That's still, though, the bot lane of Bulldog slowed down, stuck on their base to make sure that they kill the enemy top laner. In the meantime, Los Ratones have free time on the bot lane to do whatever they want, and they want more money for Crowny, obviously. They also want the Drake, which Relja is taking care of right now. Bulldogs are going to be late for this party, so they should not even be thinking about taking the first Drake, and maybe focus on something else, like not giving away the first turret, for example.
Crowny's picked up 3 plates down there, and despite it being a relatively quiet early game, it's still over 1,000 gold ahead for Los Ratones here. They've picked up that early dragon. They've gotten the feat of strength for the first blood. There we go. Pick that one out. I can read symbols on the top of my screen. Good start there, Sam. And just off laning phase and just plates, they are kind of slowly getting a fairly notable lead here. Of course, it's not game-breaking yet, but if this keeps continuing, if they do continue to pick up some of those feats of strength and those plates, this gold lead is going to get very sizable very quickly, I fear.
And that is scary for any of the teams, to be fair, because if you look at both drafts, both of them absolutely hate playing from behind. Swain feels miserable if he's behind on items. Ambessa doesn't want to be behind. Jax, Corki, wherever you look, it's the same for both the teams. So for Los Ratones, that is already such a great start that they are the ones ahead. Not a huge lead by any means, but they are consistently getting there. And their early games can be a little bit slower, but at the same time, again, it is just that they are constantly in this lead. They are leading in terms of feat of strength. They are leading in terms of the gold. They are having more control over the map in general. So far, it's looking good for them.
So far, so good. Of course, it's a lot of game to play as Baus goes on forwards, and with the phase rush and the AP-empowered counter-strike, that wave just disappears. Came in, lands a good never move, forces Crowny to cleanse away. Doesn't get to use the Valkyrie. He's actually down on mana. I'm not sure he had enough mana to back away. Valkyrie's mana costs early on. That's pretty huge, and I say that he Valks over a wall, so I was just wrong. There you go. Again, happened again and again. Sorry about that. I was trying to be super clever. Like, look at the mana cost tonight there. He just gets the Falco over the wall instead. Still, summoned it down, came in, continuing to land some good combos there on Swain, even if he is down a little bit of that CS. And we saw in the first game of the way the Bulldogs were more than able to find some good picks, a little bit like this. Chains of Corruption, just why Velya managed to buffer away for now. Still has the flash to work. His teleports begin to fly. Velya down to half HP. The Hail of Arrows secures the kill for Exifan. 2 for him now on the board. Nemesis will Justice punch away, but there's a public execution. Noxus versus Demacia on your screens, but the statue will flash away. It's looking like a Doctor Who episode, because blink and you'll miss him.
But what you will not miss, though, is the fact that these are the second grabbies of the game that are going to Bulldog's hands. Oh my god, Crowny, what are you doing there?
He's fell away. I don't think he got that far. They've got too deep. Hang on. In comes the Galio ultimate, and the Heroes enter to buy some time to never move just shy. Will throw out the taunt, but will not find that much. Reckless doesn't find the best engage ever. The Demonic Ascension is there. Crowny down at 10% HP and no mana. Can't do that much more, but stays alive critically, and Bulldogs thought they'd found some more, but Los Ratones scramble and keep all their members alive.
Still such low HP both on everybody that no continuation is possible. Everybody just wants to reset, go back to the base, maybe grab some more components. Velvet in the meantime is doing the grabs, but Baus might need...
He's fine.
You know what? Yeah, he's fine. He doesn't need any help whatsoever. I forget that it's Baus sometimes, sorry.
And in fairness to Baus, again, he has a reputation from solo. We all know what it is for many, many years now, and the way he plays the game, and is quite happy to give up the good deaths in order to find individual advantage and draw so much pressure that he still becomes a kind of problem regardless. But I think at least at NLC, or in NLC is a better way of putting the syntax together for that sentence, he's actually not given away as many deaths as you might expect. Again, yes, the Poppy game happened, but it's actually been pretty good at like not being completely over-aggressive. It's actually playing his style with a fair amount of consistency, and of course that shouldn't be a total surprise, but it's not the solo queue special you sometimes see from Baus, and it is good to see that he is managing to convert his very distinctive playstyle to a pro level, to a competitive level, and doing it well, at least so far. But we are only 3 games deep. Hell, 2.5. That third game's not complete yet.
2 and a third, more likely. We're just in the beginning. Everything might still go completely downhill for Los Ratones, even though they are still in the lead in terms of the goal, still in the lead in terms of what's happening on the map. Only need one more neutral objective, by the way, to complete the feats of strength, and with the dragon spawning in just 40 seconds from now, it looks like the next objective on the menu for Los Ratones, already starting to bring in the forces towards the both side of the map. Baus has no TP, but knowing Baus and knowing how the Reds play, most likely he's going to stay exactly where he is right now.
One more neutral objective will get Los Ratones that second feat of strength, which would be pretty valuable. Cayman lands and never moved, but it's on to Reckless, who has enough of a shield to not care too much right there, as well, you might end up face-checking a sapling, and the little Schmiegum. I forget the name of it. I've forgotten the name of those things. There is a name. I apologise out there to Cabbage Family and other small UK teams who named those many years ago. All the while.
You lost me there, brother. I'm sorry.
Don't worry, but that is a very deep UK League of Legends reference. And to those who get it, I applaud you. To everyone else, ignore that 10 seconds of me mumbling. It's easier that way.
You know what? It's just, it's the usual way of dealing with initialize, by the way, in case you didn't know. Oh, Cayman, don't do that to me again.
Demonic Ascension comes through the tower, falls. That'll be another feat of strength. Cayman flashes away, try to heal up. It's just not enough as Crowny picks that one up, his first of the game. The BDG Bulldogs are here to fight back. They land the Maokai route, but the turnaround's pretty good. Exafeng just gets caught out, deleted! And of course, there's the Galio from the heavens to turn it all around. Lulis is clueless, nowhere to run. He goes on down, another such name pumps. Kasing now being run away. Miatic is here, but there's still a massive members disadvantage. Nemesis lands the taunt, gets Kasing, and now it's Ambessa alone against the world. And Los Ratones are bringing a plague of destruction down on Bulldog's heads. There is just not enough in the tank. They should have named terriers. They're the wrong kind of rat-catching dogs.
That Ambessa was not, I'm afraid, raised by the wolves because she was too late for the party and there is no way out of that anymore. But the thing is, Cayman dies here and that is unavoidable because the turret goes down extremely quickly, and even if you're in Demonic Ascension, there is nothing you can do. But I want you to be looking at Reckless because the way he's going to be dancing with his moves, like never give this man a Rakan if you want to even have a chance at winning against Los Ratones, because the way he chooses to go for Exofang right here with his extended ultimate to make sure that he hits onto the enemy AD carry, and this way Crowny doesn't die. And this way the enemy AD carry goes down and the fight is pretty much automatically won for the Rats.
There's just too many entrances happening there for Xfeng to deal with, a grand one and a heroic one. A little bit more than Xfeng was able to manage with their Nemesis. Just gets to keep going on forwards, and Kasing forced down. Miatic has nowhere really to go. The public execution is unfortunately of Ambessa herself. Everybody in the end falls apart at different times there. Bulldogs go in one by one. And taken hook, line, and sinker, and their chance in this game feels like they're sinking rather rapidly. What are they, 5k behind at this point in the game?
Yeah.
They're down 4 grubs, 2 dragons. There's not many metrics here that Los Ratones are not favoured in right now. Baus has got himself a Nash's Tooth already. Building towards that second item nice and fast. Only the one death so far. This Jax, AP or not, going to be really annoying. The upfront burst from that particular variant is a lot more than people expect.
That's true. And also don't forget about the fact that he is obnoxious on the side lanes as well, which means Bulldogs right now have to sacrifice Mythic all the time to make sure that this Ambessa is just trying to hold onto these turrets, that Baus doesn't cut through them very quickly, which to be fair, Baus will still do. He's ahead, he's feeling rather strong right now.
He's fine, yeah.
Exactly, he's more than fine compared to Mythic right now.
Well, just counter-strikes the wave and runs away. The public execution goes wide because he just sidestepped it. Here comes the Nature's Grasp, though, to buy Baus a little bit of time. Nowhere really for him to go. Has a phase rush, but nowhere to run. And that'll be a second death for the Jax, who for once oversteps, can't sidestep everything. Baus dies for the second time this game.
You can't sidestep everything, but you can make sure that every death of yours counts, because Los Ratones, in the meantime, thanks to this window in the window view, got the Herald to themselves, and now they can cut through the top lane.
They try and jump in. The chains of corruption don't really land. Cayman tries to buy some time. Velia is very deep, but I think he's just dead to rights here. Yeah, that one was a little bit far, Rats. I would XTD somewhere else. Nemesis comes on in, but the hero's entrance is looking like the villain's dinner table, and he gives himself over to Bulldogs, who now even up the kills. I think that one might have been a touch far. I don't know about you, Solari.
Speaking of overextension, both of us actually did overextend. Both Los Ratones went a little bit too deep and too far into Bulldog's territory. As also, we went a little bit too far with praising them, unfortunately, but... Oh!
Ooh, well,
okay,
goodbye.
Forget it.
Kasing about to fall as well. There comes the Visions of Ember, try to buy some space, but Baus down to counter-strike and 20% of the HP bar just disappears. A double kill for Baus, who evens up his kills and deaths and feels a lot happier about the game, and Los Ratones strike back after a slight fumble moments ago. We'll have a look at this replay again as we see the topside dive that was just that bit deep.
Much too deep, with the turrets still on full health, and remember that the turrets are now dealing much more damage than before, and with the fact that Velge is jumping in with the ultimate when there is already no follow-up possible because Crownie is fighting for his dear life, and after that the hero's entrance also happens, unfortunately a little bit too late, but look at the window in the window view, there is no time to waste for the Rats.
Mid lane turret stands despite the use of the Herald, and Sundering Smash comes on through from Mythic as the part 2 of that queue. Sometimes can look a little bit like the ultimate on this skin. I'm not gonna lie
Yes,
to you.
it does.
Thank you for about that. Okay, you get the turret. You nearly get everything. Okay, you know what? Good death. Gets the turret. It's more gold than you dying as came in. And on the other side goes down as well, and Velia and Nemesis return to the scene of the incident at the tier 2 earlier and be able to claim that turret for themselves. Los Ratones claim 2 tier 2s in a matter of minutes. Actually, are they going to keep going? They might look for a little bit more here. Is there any teleports available? Cayman will have his 20-odd seconds. That's a public execution. That's still going to be a 1 versus 2. Mythic manages to Drakehound step away, but the turnaround with the Justice Punch and a flag and drag means that I think that Ambessa may have gone a little deep, but you know what? I take it back. There's just more dashes than Los Ratones have. You can't catch the Ambessa. What am I saying is... Gee, Lunas and Kasing here. How much further do they want to go? Atakan has spawned on the HP bars. Los Ratones are a little low. This might actually give Bulldogs an opportunity here if they're feeling really bold. They'll pick up the blood petals and the resets will come on through, but they don't feel calm enough or confident enough to start this one up quite yet.
Their Ambessa is still low health, you gotta remember. It was still 2-for-1 in terms of the low health and who had to reset in the end, but still Bulldogs don't feel comfortable enough without one. Plus their situation on the top lane is... it's not that good. They still have all their turrets down, all the turrets for Los Ratones are still standing, so Los Ratones seem to have a better position here if they want to force a fight there. They want to force a fight here on the river, apparently.
Threw down the flag, but did not get dragged down into the depths. He never moved, lands onto Nemesis. Kasinga's gone on in with the crash down and a bit more Ferromancy to his name. Velya's really low, gets the Cataclysm and gets out. Came in desperately low, trying to heal on up. Doesn't quite fall himself. The health bars are so low, but the few have fallen so far. Ambessa gets the Jax, and Bulldogs come out on sort of top, I think. It's 2 for 2 in the end, but it is a close run thing.
It's still close, and Merrick is still half HP and can do so much with his half HP on that Ambessa. Like, force some more recalls and let the team go towards the Drake. It's going to be the first Drake for Bulldog, but they also having objective bounties running on the map, so it's going to be a little bit of additional gold for the team as well. A pretty good ultimate there coming in, but again, coming a little bit too late, it feels like, from Galio. I'm just so sad to look at Kaimin because Swain, who is behind, is not having a good time whatsoever. Your whole idea of your champion is that you're supposed to survive through the fights and absorbing some damage and heal from it. If Swain is 1-4 to 5 and having only an item and a half compared to 3 items on Nemesis, I'm afraid this Swain is not fathering today.
Struggling a little bit here, I grant you.
Yeah.
And that, you know, I'm glad you... little bit of a throwback to the earlier statements there. I appreciate it. But, you know, like, jokes aside, Bulldogs, we've seen some good fights from them today. We've seen them actually throw some good punches in game 1. They managed to fight back against Los Ratones a number of times despite the goal discrepancy across this game. But it has been more of the macro that has been problematic. They are still down a lot of gold in both of these games as the mid-game rolls around and they start falling further and further away. Those slight increments begin to build into bigger and bigger ones as the games go on. And yes, the Swain is quite a ways behind, but on the other hand, at least XFN's in a decent spot, and maybe Bulldogs can put it back, but I need to see them start picking up some turrets. It's 5-0 in that marker right now. They've got a dragon to their name, they've got a couple grubs, but that's about it. Baus might be attacked here. That Blast Cone did not serve to put Miatek any further, and Baus is very swift with the phase rush and the Swifty boots, so it's not going to be a threat right now.
No, and he's more than fine to see some enemy members looking at him without any respect on the both side of the map, because we're still looking at Aracon sitting on the top part of the map. We're still talking about the possibility to take it, but for now, mid lane...
Crash down into the Magnet Storm, and Crowny in a dangerous spot, but he's got enough of a shield to stay alive. Came in, gets a big demonic ascension though. Kasing is low but not down. Lula's low but not down. And Bessa gets reckless and shot down, and into the back lane he gets more. Oh my god! Value with the triple kill. Cataclysm by name, Cataclysm by nature. All the while, though, they still lose more members. Velia manages to salvage it a little bit, but it's still going to be a 3-for-3. Can he find his way out? We'll need to play rope around the ring around the rosy a little bit, but Cayman has a lot more HP to work with. The Visions of the Empire will stop the spot. Remember, Atakan is up. Velia, how much further can you run? Are there teleports available? One from Nemesis, maybe, if he can fall away and get on in here. A bit more damage, and Palpatine he may be, but will not be able to really show them the true power of the dark side of the Force. Have a look at this replay, because once again, it was scrappy.
I don't know how Crowny managed to keep to his cleanse for so long up until the very last moment, and the fight would have looked so much different if it wasn't for the Miantic factor here. Because the moment this Ambessa sees the opening onto the backlane that is already very low, she goes in, Reckless is down, Crowny is down, and no matter what was happening to the backlane of Bulldogs before that, Miantic is still full health somehow, almost full health with a ginormous shield to his name, with a triple kill to his name, and my boy Miantic coming all the way from Ultra Liga, where he had the strong performance individually, but unfortunately his team really struggled to find any good placement in League whatsoever. But Miantic was always the shining light over the team, and now I'm just so happy finally seeing him on the champion that has so much power and authority and unleashing it to the fullest. 6-1-1 with 2 items to his name. Miantic is a very strong factor in this game.
And unless you end up with a really good set of ults to defend Crowny, it's not going to be that easy to Valkyrie away from an Ambessa who can just continue to gap close after gap close. If you were hit by that public execution, you are no longer safe. They'll jump onto Exafing here as the chains of corruption go very wide indeed. And that's a quick kill onto the enemy AD carry. And Los Ratones will take this opportunity to head towards the Baron that has just spawned and look to pick up the big purple worm for themselves. They are going to be on vision while doing it though. Well, they're just going to go straight towards Atakan. To get used to what people are going for, with that one also being a side there, they'll start up with a slightly easier neutral objective to secure.
The Bulldogs, however, are closing in. There is no ultimate on Lulos. There's something important to remember, but Kaiman is here. Has the ulti.
I think a Scon is going to go down, and that'll be the withdrawals available. On the revive, I heard the Endless Desk calling us out on that one earlier. As Baus into the backside, makes sure that Kaiman is suffering. Will get that kill, but it's only 100 gold. Lulis goes down. Crowdy playing with a vengeance. Miatek in the backline, facing in a 1v2, and reminder, with those withdrawals, you just don't get that much value for fighting against them. And now Baron's available right next door. Atakan proves its might once more. So much value for the side of Los Ratones.
From the moment that Aragorn went down into the hands of Los Ratones, that was a lost cause for Bulldog. Because even if you win a fight right here, right now, you're getting pretty much nothing. As you said, you're getting no gold. You're just giving the quick resets for Los Ratones to go quickly back to the base and buy more items and just simply walk back into the Summoner's Rift like nothing happened before that. If you lose this fight, however, as Bulldogs, you're losing so much more. They just lost the Baron to everybody on the side of Los Ratones. They just lost potentially more turrets. They just lost the Dragon as well, which they still have an objective bounty on. But as you can see on the minimap and on the map right now, Los Ratones are claiming the soul point for themselves, and they will continue pushing because they still have 4 out of 5 withdrawals to their names, and now they have the Baron buff and the soul point. Like, what else is there to ask for the Reds right now?
Maybe some cleaner team fights, I suppose, if you're being really nitpicky.
Okay,
Yeah, that's probably
yeah.
fair. There's been a few even team fights that perhaps shouldn't have been, and Xafeng and Miatic are still pretty scary. They'd like to time out these Atakan buffs if they can, though. Not the easiest thing to do, and with Baron on top of it all, it's going to be a very strong shove from Los Ratones. Make no mistake about it. Can Bulldogs hold on? They will need to be dog with a bone in this particular case. Dog within will have to become a dog without if they want to make this play. In goes Velia, but Miatic is trading out with Baus on the other side. I think Baus is winning this one.
What?
Oh my days, the damage is huge! Counter-strike and a flash not required. All the while though, Ingos came in and the rest of the squad from Los Ratones to try and pick up the kill. So don't quite manage it. Crowny, Valkyrie's over the wall. You can hear them riding on in, and it is to Valhalla. They sent Bulldogs. It is a valiant fight or two from then. But the macro wasn't enough. Atakan and Baron is too much to bear for the side of Bulldogs. They will fall down to 1 and 3. Los Ratones will secure themselves first in Group A. They do it in style, and they do it in the manner we all began to expect, even if 1 or 2 of those fights were perhaps not as clean as they might have hoped.
The long-anticipated Rats have proven to us that they are the best ones when it comes to best of ones in NLC so far, which is very exciting. Because again, this is the last best of one that we're seeing so far in this split. Starting from the next week, we're going to be going into a very adventurous territory of best of 3s and best of 5s. And I can't wait to see what Los Ratones are going to be bringing in there. Because so far, we've seen pretty much the same ideas from their drafts. And don't get me wrong, they have been working for, well, all of the time, because they have been winning those games so far, going undefeated. But I don't know. I think I still want to see a little bit more from them because it's very promising, it's very strong, not always as clean though as it could have been.
I'll be seeing us a little bit less because it's the desk who'll be picking it up from here to break down that game and tell us why Los Ratones have earned themselves first place in Group A.
First place for Los Ratones, but somehow I need a shower. That was dirty. That was a complicated one. And everybody was like, it's Bulldogs. They're going to take them down. I got nervous. I saw the game going both ways at one point. So let's start digesting this one and understand how it started before we go into the mess.
Okay, so before we get into the mess, it was Los Ratones, right? It just felt like, man, we always say this. It's almost like a cliche at this point, but Bols was doing Bols things, and the rest of his team was benefiting from it. Honestly, like there were a few times where Bulldog was trying to attack Bols, and so the Rats just like they almost dove the Swain one time. They got the Dragon another time from it as well. Like this strategy of attacking Bols doesn't seem to be
example.
working. So here we go, right? And this is where he gets caught first, and he stays around again a little bit later. But just think of all the resources already used here. That's 2 people topside. Your ulti from Ambessa.
Look at this guy.
And then he stays. He draws Kame in from mid lane up as well. The bot lane comes to get him. So what do the Rats do? You know, they get a push bot. You get plates, and you get Dragon. You're chilling. It's worth it.
Yeah. It's a 5-man squad to deal with Baus while the rest of the team is like, do we take plates? Do we take dragons? Yeah, like Baus is doing his thing, and all of a sudden you hear from the background, dun, dun, da, da, and here comes the Avengers to try to take him down, but you forget about the map.
And I think this is the key thing that I think bears repeating. The Baus playstyle is not him mindlessly running into the enemy team and dying just because he feels like it. There is a very high level of understanding about the way that the map works from this player. And that's meant that this transition into sort of professional play has gone very well, because if you're applying pressure in one part of the map, you've actually got people that you can communicate with that can take advantage of that pressure. Like, we're getting the dragons, the plates, and Archer. I think a point that you were bringing up when we were watching that game was that Reckless has said, when Baus is doing these silly things, we need to be getting something from it. And I feel like that was the story of Los Ratones this whole split. I know we're only a few games in, but it was also the story of this game. Very strong decision making in contrast to Bulldogs, who look here, split focus, Exafang's going on to Crownie, instantly Nemesis is coming in, and Los Ratones just defeating them in detail. One kill, then another, and I mean, credit to Mietek trying to rescue this play at the very end, but the rest of his team has already died, and we've got this 4-man squad of Los Ratones beating up on the Bulldogs in the bot side. Look at the minimap. Baus is split pushing in top. Whenever one thing is happening, there is another play being exerted by Los Ratones on the other side of a map. This isn't a team which appreciates strong side and weak side. Everywhere is strong side because they are always applying pressure.
Yeah, it makes also potentially brings up questions for a draft, because this is the third game we've seen Galio, right? And Galio enables this exact kind of play style where Nemesis, wherever it might be weak side, strong side on the map for Los Ratones, gets in with the hero's entrance every single time, right? And it also allows more of like a dogpiling team comp, team fight style team comp, and these kind of compositions as well that can really press advantages through good fights and through being aggressive and forcing action in the mid and late game. So it's tough to play against, right? And as it turns out, you know, the Rats are pretty good at League of Legends, so they tend to get these early advantages, right? It doesn't always work out as smoothly though. Sort of as predicted in the team in the draft, like this was a butting heads team comp, right? We said like just fighting, and it got a little bit shaky at times for Los Ratones.
Yeah, I mean, this fight looks like it's going all right for Los Ratones, but look at Mietek coming in on the left-hand side of your screen. The backline left completely open and available for the Ambessa to dive in and just do Ambessa things. It was a good team fight from Valia, but whilst two players got triple kills, there's only one limping away to try and escape. So I think definitely, as Solari highlighted, some areas of Los Ratones' gameplay that can be sort of tweaked and improved upon a little bit, but they are ultimately able to get on out of this situation, and Bulldogs not really able to gain too much with a fight that was ostensibly an advantageous situation for them. So it's not just about winning these fights, it's about doing successful things off the back of them. That's what we see from Los Ratones. It's what we would have loved to have seen from Bulldogs.
100%. It looked like sometimes when they won those team fights, they didn't know what to do with those team fights. Fox, I got a little bit of a feeling there. Can you explain?
Yeah, I mean, Ambessa, bro. What the hell is that? Holy moly, that's the second time that Jax has been countered into Ambessa, and Ambessa still pops off. Like, I mean, to be fair, Bolts also popped off, and in the end even solo killed the Ambessa, but that was crazy right there. Like, yeah, it's just hard, honestly. It's really hard. And I actually do want to put some credit onto Bulldog. I think this was the best game that they've played 100%. This split so far, and the Swain pick especially, I think was quite smart, because when you've got a team comp on the side of Los Ratones who wants to jump forward, who wants to jump in, like the Swain survives a long time, and we saw that in a few of those mid-game team fights, right? Once he gets kind of like 1 or 2 items with that ultimate up, even when Jarvan was engaging onto him, when they were trying to single him out and focus him down, he wasn't dying, and that buys enough time for the rest of Bulldog to come through, specifically with Ambessa to come in and mop up some of those fights. It was close, and there was a point in that game where maybe even Bulldog, you know, could have turned some of those fights if they just picked up a kill, maybe 2 more. It generally was kind of close at certain points for the fights. Whether or not Bulldog could have turned that into something later on, like it's hard to say, but it's considering that goal graph looking like a very one-sided game, I do think that Bulldog probably gave Los Ratones like the biggest scare they've had so far in the NLC in some of those fights.
Yeah, and quick point, I think you look at that Ambessa damage graph, and that explains to me a little bit more about why Bulldogs were willing to first pick a Rumble to try and secure something that Mietek is like comfortable on. obviously didn't work out, but when we move into the playoff stages, I'm going to be really interested to see how much focus they put towards enabling this guy in the top lane, because whilst they've not got the results on the Rift to back it up, it's very clear that this guy is a talent.
I 100% agree. I'm still in doubt of Maokai. Second time we get to see it today. Second time we didn't get the Liandry's. Do you believe he's pulling his weight as a pick?
Yeah, I mean, this Maokai, I think it's okay. It can work. Like, it has the setup for the rest of the lanes. The Liandry's choice in the first game, as you mentioned, like, I'm okay with it because it's kind of just what you do. Like, if you want to compete with your clear speeds and you want to be useful as a jungler, you kind of just have to get Liandry's on Maokai. It still gives you, you know, I mean, yeah, it's not ideal. I think in that situation, when your only front line was Maokai, like, it's just you're in a bad spot, really, to be honest. So I wouldn't necessarily pin that as a problem with the build necessarily. It was more, in my opinion, like the draft wasn't great, but as you can see, like, he's not contributing as much from the damage charts, which is kind of just what Maokai does. But when that happens, you have to then put your eggs in the baskets of the rest of the team, with those carries. And I think Bulldogs honestly did that pretty well with Mietic and topside with that Ambessa.
Well, with that in mind, they still have another game to play today. It will be the last of the day. Verdant versus Los Ratones. Verdant pulled a good game previously, but they were not able to finish it. Los Ratones can end with the perfect seeding stage. It's still the seeding stage. We'll jump on to playoffs with the Fearless Draft, as everybody enjoys, later on. But for this one, we wrap it up. We still have Nord versus LLS to follow this one through. But before that, we have a quick pause, a quick break, and I'll see you soon. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.